Wrestling fans, it's Cy-Hawk Duel Week, Iowa versus Iowa State, one of the bigger rivalries that we have in the sport. It's in-state, it's contentious, two historically successful programs, and this year has a little extra spice to it, a little bit of an extra implication. So that's what we're looking at today. Now, some of the story, some of the context behind why is this Iowa State duel so important? What the Cy-Hawk duel, Cyclones versus Hawkeyes? Why does it really matter? Why is it more important than Purdue versus Indiana? Why is it more important than any other in-state rivalry? Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State, Bedlam. Well, let's lay out just a little bit of what's happening, right? This is going down Sunday, November 30th. The dual record overall is in favor of Iowa, 70-16 with two draws. Iowa's on a 20 dual win streak. In the last 3 years, it's gone this way. Last year, Iowa won 21-15. 2 years ago, it was 18-14, and 3 years ago, 18-15. So it's been close. It's been a very close, contentious duel, and every single year, the talking heads in wrestling have kind of drawn up. This is how Iowa State's going to do it. Iowa's going to, drop the ball against Iowa State or whatever. Every single time, Iowa seems to find a way to get the job done. And yeah, I mean, these are two of the more historically successful programs. Everybody knows Iowa and how successful they are. Iowa State's right there. They were the team for Dan Gable. They were the team for Cale Sanderson, two of the biggest names that we have in the sport. They have a collection of NCAA titles of their own, and they're continuing to build successful programs and successful teams to this day. So why does it matter just a little bit more this year than the previous years? Well, the extra implication or the extra spice to this duel is the fact that we didn't get to see Iowa State at the National Duels Invitational, one of the more exciting events that we've had this season. And the reason for that was because last year at NCAAs, Iowa State finished in 27th place, which was, as far as what they were capable of doing, it was a massive letdown. And that essentially removed them from being able to be in contention for attending the national duels. Yeah, with that, let's get right into the duel. My predictions, breaking it down weight by weight, and see what this is going to look like. Now, before we begin, I just want to put this out there. We have the potential to see a ranked matchup at every single weight class. If the best starting lineup goes out there for both teams, every single match will be a ranked matchup. We will see several top 10 matchups. We'll even see top 5 matchup. And yeah, I mean, this duel is going to be absolutely crazy. Currently, WrestleStat has it set predicted for Iowa to win 21-19. But let's break it down weight by weight and kind of understand what we're really looking at here. So, kicking things off at 125 pounds, we've got number 7, Dean Peterson for the Iowa Hawkeyes, going up against number 9, Steve O'Poulin. And this is going to be at Iowa State, which, doesn't always determine whether somebody wins or loses, but sometimes it feels like it has sort of an impact and effect on the duel. So, these two, they've wrestled each other prior to this duel. Steve O'Poulin won 6-4. That was at NCAAs last year. And WrestleStat has a prediction of Peterson beating Steve-O 6-5. And I think that's definitely a possible result. We haven't seen a lot of Steve-O. As a matter of fact, we haven't really seen a lot of the entire Iowa State lineup. They had their Cyclone Invite tournament, where most of their guys looked pretty solid against decent competition, not anything like the national duels or, anything major, but they looked solid. They looked like a team that was geared up, ready to go, ready to wrestle this year. And then they also dueled Nebraska Kearney, a solid D2 team. And what I see from this, what I'm feeling at 125 pounds, Dean Peterson kind of has a little bit of he's proved that he can beat the top guys. He can beat that top tier with his win over Troy Spratley. And he probably feels like he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder after his loss to Nick Bouzakis at the Ohio State duel in the finals of national duels. And so I wouldn't be surprised, especially if we're starting at 125 pounds. Iowa needs some wins at the light weights this is going to be one that is it's kind of pivotal for Iowa if they and Iowa State. Both teams are going to need to set the tone for this duel early, and so I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see an extra active Dean Peterson or an extra aggressive Dean Peterson. But with that being said, Steve O'Poulin moving from the team that he previously was with, Northern Colorado, to Iowa State, being in a bit of a tougher, more competitive room, better training partners. This could be, an extra step up for Steve O'Poulin. This is 125 is a weight class that's sort of in limbo right now. Everything's in chaos, and so Steve O'Poulin might try and go out there and assert himself and show that he is one of the top tier guys at 125 pounds. So I'm rolling with Steve-O. I'm gonna just say 5-3. It's gonna look something like that where we see Steve-O get a takedown and escape, maybe a riding time point, get those 5 points, and Dean Peterson gets 2 escapes and maybe a stall point. It looks something like that, just within the margins, a decision. That's my prediction. Now at 133 pounds, we've got number 3 in the country, Drake Ayala, versus number 6, Evan Frost. These two wrestled each other last year at this duel, and Drake Ayala won it 11-7, pivotal win for them. And, this is one of the weights where we might not see Iowa State put out their top guy. Evan Frost, it was known that he was having a hard time making 133 pounds last year, and he wrestled at the Iowa style or Cyclone invite, the Iowa State tournament. He wrestled 141 pounds, and everybody knows he's making his way down. And if the coaches if they really want to win this duel, then they're saying, hey, we need you for this. We need you to make 133 pounds. This is important if they're that determined to win this duel. So I'm expecting this matchup. I don't know if it's going to happen. It's not a guarantee. And Drake Ayala won it last year, 11-7. I'm kind of expecting, with the way we saw things happen for Drake at national duels, again, sort of a chip on his shoulder. And that's what we saw when he went out there and wrestled Pitt the following week. He seemed to bounce back and say, I don't want to take this loss laying down. I don't want to take this sluggish performance and say, yeah, well, that's just going to be how I am. It seems like he's ready to go out there and prove himself. And if we do see Frost, and this is his first time getting all the way down to 133, it could be tough. It could be a tough match for him. If Drake Ayala really pushes the pace, Frost isn't ready to wrestle that full 7 minutes, this could be a match where Iowa's pushing for bonus. So I'm rolling with Ayala beating Frost. I don't think Evan Frost is going to be ready for this type of competition at this time of the year. So I'm going Drake Ayala 9-2 over Frost. All right, next up at 141 pounds, we have number 7 in the country, Nasir Bailey for the Iowa Hawkeyes, up against number 6, Anthony Etchemendia for the Iowa State Cyclones. These two have not wrestled each other before. They were at different weight classes last year. Last year, Etchemendia was at 149, and Nasir Bailey was at 133. They've both moved weight classes, and they're meeting in the middle. And I think the ranking of this matchup, the number 7 versus number 6, I think it kind of tells a little bit of a false tale. My current perspective on Nasir Bailey is I don't expect him to be able to compete with a guy like Anthony Etchemendia, with one caveat in mind. With Etchemendia, he's coming off of injury, and he's down a weight class. He wrestled 141 2 years ago. Looked really good. He placed 6th or somewhere around that. And he looked great as a 141 pounder. It looked like he was capable of wrestling with everybody. He had a close match with Jesse Mendez back then. Now, he wrestled Jesse Mendez at the All-Star Classic this year. Wasn't as close. But I think Etchemendia is a step above Nasir Bailey, with one position being very advantageous for Nasir Bailey. If people have forgotten, Nasir Bailey is very tough on top. If he gets wrist control, starts working towards his tilts, things can be very dangerous for whoever he's wrestling. And so with Etchemendia being a Cuban transfer, somebody who's only really wrestled freestyle his entire life and didn't get into folk style wrestling until I think 2020, 2019, something like that. This could be a situation where we see Etchemendia not pick bottom, or maybe Bailey picks top, or Bailey gets a takedown, and things get out of hand. But I don't really expect that to happen. I expect Etchemendia to win a controlled, tight, simple match. 6-2 is what it looks like in my mind. Probably going to be a lot of neutral wrestling, maybe a takedown at the end of the period to kind of sting Bailey. But I think on his feet, Etchemendia is a tier above a guy like Nasir Bailey. At 149 pounds, we have number 10 Ryder Block for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and then we've got some options for Iowa State. This is where we start to see maybe Iowa State has some changes in their lineup, because we've got a little bit of a log jam at 149 and 157. So I'm not sure what we're going to see. But the two options that I see are number 2 in the country, Paniro Johnson, or returning All-American Jacob Frost. So with these two in mind, I think that there are some pros and cons to both sides. Paniro Johnson, very explosive, wrestles pretty dynamic, can definitely put points up on the board, but might have some gas tank issues. We got to see what he looked like against a pretty tough opponent in David Evans from Utah Valley at the Iowa State tournament, but I don't know what he looks like against a guy like Ryder Block. Ryder Block he's got a lot of momentum behind his season so far this year, and this could be an opportunity for him to show that, hey, he is a podium finisher at this weight. There's a lot of chaos right now, and so this is the time to strike. I don't know if we see Johnson. I don't know if we see Frost. I'm going to lean Frost for this matchup. I just think he's a little bit more consistent, fundamental, can kind of pull the reins in a little bit on some positions. And so my expectation is we'll see Jacob Frost, and I have him taking out Ryder Block 4-2. Things are very simple, very fundamental here. No riding time, no stalling, nothing like that. Takedown, escape for Frost, 2 escapes for Block, and that's all we see. Now, at 157, we've, again, got some options depending on what Iowa State does. However, we don't really know what we're going to see with Iowa. Their best option, in my mind, in my opinion, is Jordan Williams. He's ranked 12th in the country. He's had the best wins, basically. He's looked the best for them. I don't think Voinovich is a very reliable option. I don't think he's a guy who can really put up points, especially against the two options that are available for Iowa State. Now, I guess if they wrestle Frost at 149, Johnson could wrestle 157, or number 3 in the country, Vinny Zerbin. They've got options. I don't know what they're going to do. It might just be very straightforward. Frost isn't wrestling. I don't know. But either way, I see, whether it's Zerbin, whether it's Frost, whether it's Johnson, even if Williams goes out there and wrestles, I'm picking the Iowa State wrestler to win by a decision. I have Zerbin wrestling. He's going to win 10-5. Pretty much, I feel like there's not any leeway here. I don't think Jordan Williams, if there's a hole in Iowa's lineup, it's probably going to be 157, just with what I've been seeing so far. However, this could be an opportunity for Jordan Williams to prove myself and other doubters and haters wrong. So we'll see. Moving on to 165, we're halfway through the duel, and you're going to have to stick with me here. I've got a little bit of a controversial take at this weight. What do we have here? Number 3 in the country, Michael Caliendo, versus number 22 for Iowa State, Connor Uden. They've got some options at 165, but I think this is their guy, and let me tell you why. Connor Uden was wrestling in this duel last year. This was his last match of the season last year before he suffered a knee injury and had to medically redshirt for the rest of the year. However, he was winning. He was leading in that match against Caliendo. And the talk within the Iowa State wrestling room is it's big on Connor Uden. And so I don't think a lot of people are expecting him to be able to produce any significant results. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. And I've kind of just this whole time been expecting to see something happen. And so this is that opportunity. This is where we can see it happen. I've got Connor Uden winning this match. I've got him winning 7-3, kind of stunning or stinging Caliendo, putting Caliendo in this man. He's got two losses on his season already. You know, what can Iowa expect from Caliendo moving forward? But yeah, this is going to be basically the only huge upset that I expect from this match, from this duel. And yeah, I could be way off. Caliendo might go out there and major him. It's very possible. it might be the case that that's just, Iowa State's best option is that, and he's that good, and that's that. But I think they could have something special with this Uten guy too. So we'll see. 174. This is where things could get a little out of hand if Iowa has the lead. At this point, it's Patrick Kennedy, number 2 in the country, versus MJ Gaitan, number 11 in the country. Now, these two have wrestled each other in the past. It was at the Cyhawk duel 2 years ago. Patrick Kennedy jumped out to a huge lead, a massive lead. People were like, oh my gosh, is he going to get a tech fall? And then he faded, which was very unusual to see out of a guy like Patrick Kennedy. And we haven't really ever seen it ever since then. But he still won the match. He won 14-13. It was one of the most insane matches I've seen in a Cyhawk duel. And I think we can see Patrick Kennedy put up a similar amount of points while reducing significantly the number of points that get scored on, that he gives up. MJ Gaitan has not really impressed me beyond being a guy who goes to NCAAs and wins a couple of matches. I don't think he has stepped it up necessarily in this season. And so my expectation here is a 12-3 major for Patrick Kennedy. That's what I have listed. Now at 184 pounds, we have number 1 in the country, Angelo Ferrari, going out and taking on number 10, Isaac Dean for Iowa State. This is another one that is solidly in Iowa's hands. They should not lose this match. But I don't really expect Angelo Ferrari unless he says, I got to go out there and I got to go score bonus. If Iowa State is up, let's say they're up 7, or let's say they're up 6, and they need to get bonus so that way they can win a match, if the math works. Whatever. Let's say they need bonus again from Angelo Ferrari. I think he could go out there and do it against a guy like Isaac Dean. I think he could put up points. He glides across the mat. It's crazy. His offense is very capable of attacking, striking whenever he wants to, and navigating positions to scores. Yeah, I think you could get the major, but I'm guessing we're going to see more controlled, more tame 7-2 decision. Now, at 197, this is probably the most anticipated matchup of the duel. It's number 4 in Dean versus number 2, Rocky Elam. Now, we haven't seen a lot from Rocky over the last 2 seasons. He was injured last year. He's making his way back this year. This is a big-time matchup for both sides. If Iowa State needs this win, they need Rocky out there, and they need him firing on all cylinders. Now, Dean has been on a heater lately. Took out Max Stout in the final moments of the match against Pitt, and can he keep that up? That's the big question here. Can Dean keep proving most people wrong? Can he keep showing, hey, I might be a title contender? Josh Barr might need to look out. Maybe he's capable of doing that. We're going to find out in this match. I don't feel like Dean's going to win this match. I feel like Rocky Elam's going to go out there and control this. I feel like he's got some length. I feel like he's got better positional awareness. The concern that I would have if I was an Iowa State fan is gas tank. Dean pushes the pace. He keeps driving forward. He stays in pretty good position too. So that would be the element. If I'm Dean, I'm all gas, no brakes the whole time. Now, you don't want to overextend yourself, obviously. I don't need to hear high-level technique from me. But yes, I think Dean is capable of winning this match, but I have Rocky Elam winning it 6-3. However, there could be some promise here for Iowa. Now at 285, big boys. Number 6, Ben Keeter versus number 1 in the country, Younger Bastida. If the duel is in the balance of the heavyweights at this point, this match is going to be electric. Ben Keeter not quite looking 100%. If he was looking absolutely dominant so far this season, if we saw him at national duels and he was just smashing Nick Feldman, smashing Connor Doucette, destroying all these guys, it's like, yeah, Younger Bastida, you're just next in line of a list of victims from Ben Keeter. But he had hip surgery this offseason, people. That's not easy to recover from. You're not going to be able to just get hip surgery, wake up, do a little bit of rehab, and be ready to go. It's not that simple. So we haven't seen him wrestle all of the opportunities. And whenever he goes out there, he wins. He beat Pitzer. He beat the Bellarmine wrestler. But he doesn't look like this Ben Keeter is ready to take this weight class. That's not what I see. Younger Bastida, undefeated so far this year, but he had a close match with Braxton Amos. Now, I don't know where this all necessarily lies in the weight class. I don't know where to put the quality of a match, a win over Braxton Amos. I don't know where to put the quality of Ben Keeter's performances because they're so limited. We've seen 2 matches, and he's beaten the guys, and he might just beat everybody that way. Very close, very tight. He can't really do a lot, and so he just wins matches however he could win them. However, my expectation is Bastida, being the dynamic wrestler that he is, finds ways to scores, doesn't really get shut down by Keeter and his strength and his leverage and his position, and Bastida wins this match 6-2. So I have the dual total being a win for Iowa State 20-10. That's probably not going to happen. I think you're going to see Caliendo probably beat Uten. You're probably going to see Keeter or Indine win their match. Iowa State's going to have somebody out of the lineup. Something is going to make this duel closer. And for some reason, for the last 20 years, or for the last 20 times that they've wrestled, Iowa finds a way to win. And that's probably going to be the same situation we're dealing with now. But I think it's a little fun to think of, can the Iowa State Cyclones find a way to win this duel? I think that adds a lot of intrigue. And now people are saying, Zach Bogle is going to be hopping on stalemates and saying, yeah, next year, make sure that we're at the national duels or whatever. But obviously, Iowa State's a great team. They're capable of doing high-level things, beating high-level teams. And I have them predicted to do that here. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know where I am way off the mark. If you're a Hawkeye or a Cyclone insider, who's going to do what, who's going to show up where, what weight class, all that jazz. But that's what I got.